Bob, you and I were handed a copy of the Cape York Turtle and Dugong plan. What are your thoughts on it? We've had a good read of it.
Yeah, Colin. What, Colin? What really concerns me about that plan is that basically it is going to be self-managed. Hasn't worked in the past. Why would it work in the future? And I think although there is some good points within that plan, if they're managed correctly, they haven't really addressed the issue, Colin. They have not addressed the issue. The issue is there enough dugong and turtle in those areas to sustain hunting at all? Do we know what the numbers are? No, we don't. So shouldn't we, doesn't this make good research sense and scientific sense to find out what those numbers are before we make any decisions? Isn't that the right way to go about it? So Colin, although, and in fact I wouldn't mind talking to some of the elders about that plan they've got. However, I wouldn't do that until we know whether there is enough dugong and turtle out there to have a sustainable future. All the pointers are that there is a real risk that dugong will become extinct within a few decades. That is a really sad thing to be looking at. So I think we should address that problem first, and then think about what sort of plan we can have to go into the future. We got handed a plan for the future of the dugong and turtle in Cape York and Torres Strait the other day from possibly an Aboriginal elder or somebody within that task force group. What's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were, for starters, that maybe if they wanted us to have a copy of that plan, they should have given us a copy of it before they did the media launch and not try to hand it to us in front of a camera to either embarrass us or big note themselves, because we really only heard what they announced up on stage. So we had a really brief overview of what was in that document. On reading that in detail, I noticed inside there were 9 threats listed to dugongs and turtles. Not one of them was hunting. So they can't keep hiding from the fact that the major threat to those animals is uncontrolled, unmonitored hunting. Secondly, I'd like to point out that was a document of the Cape York Land Council area, which takes in the whole Cape, which predominantly is probably Torres Strait Islanders. This campaign was never set out to embarrass Torres Strait Islanders or pick on that area of Australia. When I was worrying about turtles and dugongs being hunted under the Native Title Act, you and I worried about the dugongs in Shark Bay in Western Australia, right around the top of the Cape in Darwin, Broome, Clontarf, all that area, into the Gulf of Carpentaria, right down the coast, down as far as probably Rockhampton. Now, those plans are only for one specific area. So the logic to me is that even if we tighten it up in one area, why aren't we worrying about the rest of Australia? It's the population of those animals that we're worrying about. We're not worrying about specific hunters in a specific area. We don't believe that anyone should be killing those endangered or vulnerable animals with no monitoring and no controls. So it's fine to them to have a plan, but I agree with you. We should have a moratorium, for a period, and I think it's been set out in the promise to the federal government that'll be of a term of minimum of 2 years. Determine those numbers, then we talk about how we manage it. I'm pretty excited seeing the flag that'll be on a hunter's boat to say he's hunting and he's got the right required permits and he's only going to take them for true purposes. But all that needs to be happening after we know how many are there. we know quite well now, and I get calls from native title holders and elders in communities telling me that they have to go an hour and a half, 2 hours to find a dugong. So they're not plentiful, they're not everywhere. Maybe in some pockets they have big populations of them, because we're supposed to have the biggest population in the world. But the only way to keep that is to make sure we manage them correctly. And to manage them correctly, we must really find out first how many are there. So while I welcome some plan, I don't see it any different to the other. The plans haven't worked in the past, and there's been a million of them. There's been tumras in place, but the trouble with a tumra people need to understand is that the government, when they form these native title areas, they lump 4 or 5 groups or clans into one area. So some people along the ocean were sea country people, the rest were land country people who wouldn't have come down there. Past generations, they probably would have copped a spear. So now the people, like the Mandurah people down there at Innisfail, who protect their sea country and have a tumra, other clan groups in their native title determination, they come down and take them. So what's the point of having a tumra if it only applies to one part of the group? So we really need to tighten up all of these things, and they're administrative things, and that's your job, government, not my job. I just point out the holes in the things that there are. And when you look at it and say that, you know, they can go out and hunt, you know, traditionally, they don't hunt traditionally, they hunt with outboards and speedboats, and that's what upsets everyone that talks to me. So people that come down to visit Cairns from communities, you don't have the right to jump in a speedboat of your uncles or brothers or cousins here, go out into the bay off here and kill turtles in tourist areas. That's a no-no, mate. That's a dead set no-no. That upsets people like you wouldn't believe. They're there one moment taking a photo of that animal, and next minute you roar along and you spear it and take it back home to a place here in Cairns and eat it. Now that's not just free food for you. They're supposed to be marine parks, green zones, protected for those animals. That's why I laugh at marine parks. All they are is a supermarket for traditional hunting, because you can go there and you can hunt, and that's ridiculous. And all these people all around Australia, they're all saying, let's make a marine park, make a marine park. It's only a part marine park against people who don't do traditional hunting. So let's get the facts out there. Let's make it real. Bob and I will support any efforts after you have a moratorium, and make sure then you have a real process, because we'll never get off this.
It is your environment, but you're probably going to have to fight for it.